What is up viewers, the Volatile Gamer here. Today I'm going to bring you a Northwest Airfield sniping and zeroing guide. I'll be covering some of the positions that I find useful and effective when sniping the Northwest Airfield. I'll be moving on to the zeroing of targets where you would expect people to be. So after this guide you should feel a bit more comfortable when sniping the Northwest Airfield. So let's get started. So first let's note down the position where we snipe from. I'm going to be covering 4. This is the South Hill. It's quite a common place to snipe from, but you can see why it gives you a nice overview of the whole airfield and some major structures. However, always keep watching your back because you may come across some survivors making their loot and runs from Starry and Dachina. A good advantage about this point is if you come across a squad and they spot you and return fire, you can retreat into the pine trees behind you and reposition in order to get ready for your next shot. That's something you want to bear in mind when sniping. I like to move every third shot depending how comfortable I feel. For zeroing, we will start off with structures. So for organisational purposes, we will start off with the hangars. We will call them 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. 6 being the closest to us, of course. So starting with hangar 6, the closest corner is 480 metres away and the furthest point is 510 in the corner. Something to bear in mind is that the hangars are about 30 metres wide and 50 metres long. I could demonstrate that better in another position. So if you see a player towards the nearest point and you're zeroed in at 500 metres, you should aim at the stomach and you should get a chest shot. However, if they're the furthest point, just aim where you want to hit them and it should be bang on. Moving on to hangar number 5, the closest point is 530 metres away and the furthest is 550. Like I said, there's about a 30 metre difference between hangars. I better add this on before I get too far in, but some of you may not understand zeroing. You can adjust it by pressing page up to increase it and page down to decrease. This is essential, especially when sniping, because there are no mil dots on the long range scope yet. So if you don't zero correctly, you have to adjust your aim with the scope, which can be inaccurate. So hangar number 4, the closest point is 570 and the furthest is 600. So when aiming at this hangar, you might want to bump up your zeroing to 600 metres to keep accurate shots. So hangar number 3, the closest point is 620 and the furthest is 650. So you definitely want to be at the 600 metre zeroing point if you want to hit accurate shots. Hangar number 2, the closest point is 670 and the furthest is 700. So you might want to set your zeroing to 700. And finally, hangar number 1, I'd say the closest point is 770 and the furthest is 800. You'll definitely be pushing your Mosin and accuracy when firing from this range. So moving on to the fire station, you might see a few players on the roof or in the windows. The range is about 800 metres, so you will be pushing your Mosin and accuracy, like I said, at this range. So our next target will be the ATC. This is quite difficult because again it is at 800 metres, 770 to be more precise. But you may need to be wary of the glass when you take your shot because it might block it. So moving on to the west side of the airfield, the target where you might see a few players is the CAF. I'd range this at 640 metres, so adjust your zeroing to 600 and prepare for a small amount of bullet drop. The next high populated area would be the prison, especially if you're looking at the windows. You might find yourself a target. I'd range this at 440 metres, so this is a relatively easy shot to pull off, especially considering the target will most likely be standing still looting with his chest exposed. So the next place where you might see a few targets is the west ridge where players might be returning from Starry or Dachina. If you see anyone coming over this ridge, I'd keep your zeroing at 300 metres and it should be pretty accurate. So the next position I'm going to be covering is the trees near the south barracks. So this position is a bit easier to shoot from because the hangars are dead on, whereas before they were on a diagonal slope. We will start off with the hangars again from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. 6 being the closest towards us. So hangar number 6 is 500 metres away from us. Like I said, you shouldn't have to accompany any bullet drop if you are set at 500 metres because we are not on a slope. You can see a bit clearer from this position, but each hangar is 30 metres in width and 50 metres length. So if someone is at the back of the hangar, you may want to consider 50 metres worth of bullet drop. Hangar 5 is about 530 metres in range, so you still want to be on that 500 metre zeroing. Hangar 4 is about 560 metres away. You might want to consider increasing your zeroing to 600. To be honest, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Hangar 3 is 600 metres away, so you might want to set your zeroing dead on 600. Your shot should be pretty accurate if so. Moving on to hangar 2, this is about 635 metres away, so keep your zeroing at 600 and you should still find accuracy. So the final hangar is 670 metres away. You might be able to get away with 600 metres zeroing if you prepare for bullet drop. However, I'd bump it up to 700 and aim slightly below the target. Moving on to the next type of structure, which is the ATC. This is about 660 metres away, so keep your zeroing at 600 and position your shots with bullet drop in mind. You should be able to hit any target that is in the window if you are wary about the glass. Also, if someone is prone on top, keep in mind that there is a small curve that changes the height. So the fire station is next. This is quite a nice one because it's dead on 700. So if your Mosin is zeroed at 700 meters, you should be placing pretty accurate shots on the target. Like I said in the previous position, you might spot a few players at CAF now and again. I'd keep my zeroing at 400 meters for engagements that take place here. So the next place you want to keep an eye on are the south trees. You might spot a few players entering the airfield here. Sometimes in my experience, they tend to stay still for a few seconds to scout the airfield. You can use this as a prime opportunity to take a shot. I'd zero this at 400 meters. So the next position is next to a rock in some pine trees west of the airfield. Some of you may recognise this. We will start off with hangars as usual. This time the furthest one away is 6 and the closest is 1. Hangar 6 this time is 530 meters away, so one is zeroing at 500 meters. You should be able to hit accurate shots if you prepare for a small amount of bullet drop. Hangar number 5 is at 480 meters. I'd keep your zeroing at 500 though, which should still achieve accuracy. The next is hangar number 4. This is at 460 meters. You might want to consider zeroing your gun at 400 and prepare for a small amount of bullet drop. So hangar 3, 2 and 1 are all near to 400 meters. 440, 420, 410 to be exact. So if you're zeroed in at 400 meters, you should hit any target with accuracy in these areas. So the next structure is a fire station. You might see a few players in the windows or on the roof. I'd zero in at 400 meters and aim centre mass. You should be able to hit any targets from this range. Next is the ATC. I would zero this in at 300 meters. This is quite a good position to wait for players to reach because it is at quite a short range. Also, if you see a player just waiting it out, you might be able to pull a shot through the small window on the right side of the tower. Our next target is the north barracks. I'd range this at 470 meters, so keep your Mosin range to 500 and you should be able to pull off shots with accuracy. Something to bear in mind is that from my experience the windows are slightly bulletproof, so it may be the best idea to wait for the target to leave. Moving on, if you see anyone near the prison area, I'd zero in at 400 meters. You should be able to pull shots off through the window with the correct zeroing. This also covers the small industrial area surrounding it. The next area, where you might spot a few players returning from the tents, is a small industrial building. I'd range this at 400 meters. The next area where I tend to spot a few players is the west ridge. I'd zero the closest right side at 300, and as you get further to the left, zero in at 500 meters. Moving on, further north up the airfield, I'd range this barrack type building at 570 meters, so you might want to consider pushing your zeroing up to 600. Same with those hangars, the closest one to us would be 610 meters, and the furthest one away would be 700. Our next target will be the prison, next to the hangars. I'd range this at 700 meters, dead on, so you might be able to pull off a few accurate shots if you are zeroed in at 700 meters. Next is the small industrial buildings. This is just over 800 meters in range, so you could try and pull off a shot, but I'd recommend getting closer to avoid giving your position away with inaccurate shots. Moving on to another position. This is in some trees north of the airfield, next to some industrial buildings. This gives you quite a nice overview of the south and the east. So the first target is the ATC. I would range this at 550 meters. You probably should set your zeroing to 600 and aim slightly below the target. Moving on to the fire station. This is about 600 meters away, so keep your zeroing at 600 when firing at a target from this position. From this position, your view of the hangars is slightly obstructed by the ATC. However, I'd range your weapon at 700 meters when engaging targets from this area. Moving on to the prison next to the fire station, I'd range this at 500 meters, so when engaging make sure your weapon is zeroed in at 500. So the next target are the north barracks. This would be at 400 meters, so when engaging, including people in the trees behind the barracks, make sure you're set at 400. So you might spot a few players near the industrial area, including this grey shack. I'd range this at 475 meters, so keep your zeroing at 500 and aim slightly below the target. Moving on further north up the airfield, I'd range this barrack type building and the hangars at 400 meters. You should be able to spot players here returning from the tents. So this prison here is about 440 meters away, so keep your shots zeroed in at 400. If you are gauging targets in the pine trees, you might want to consider increasing it to 500. So our final target is the small industrial collection of buildings near the tents. This is about 540 meters away, so I'd zero in at 600 meters and aim slightly below the target. So I covered all the positions where I like to snipe from, and the ranges required for some high populated areas. I know I missed out the tents, but I might cover that in a separate video, due to the tents being quite complex and the amount of counter sniper positions in that area. I also get a clip of me putting my theories to the test, because there's no point me telling you stuff and not putting it to practical use. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, but until next time, as always, stay safe.